Is knife the ideal weapon for self-defense? I don't think the answer is that easy to kind of like talk about, right? And then of course I'm gonna have Nick with me today. Nick's been training at the academy for a very long time, and he loves Kali. He's been training Kali for a very long time. So I think it's fair to bring him on board with me. You know, a lot of information's out there, you know, that talks about knife defenses, how to use a knife and such. So I think that it will be a good topic to kind of talk about today, and then kind of sort of break it down. Is knife the ideal weapon for self-defense? What do you think?
You know, they're awesome. I like them, of course, because Kali, but just like anything else, it's a tool. So there's always going to be limitations to that, and not the least of which is how well designed your tool is, right?
Correct,
if I have just any knife that I pull out and it doesn't have like this nice little choil here to kind of keep my hand safe, and then I actually use this in an altercation, I'm the one getting cut.
That's actually a good point, because there are different knives out there. Depending if you have a fixed blade, if you have a folded blade, you know, they all kind of function differently, and depending how you use them.
Yeah,
right.
And I've also seen like people deploy knives, and you know, hey, I'm getting my knife out. The knife's facing the wrong way. I'm getting my knife out, and your finger will drift onto the blade itself.
So it almost sounds like, to me, it's like just like firearms. If you don't practice enough, why carry a knife?
It's absolutely a training issue. If you're looking at it like, I'm going to buy this product and it's going to keep me safe on the street, that's not the case for really anything, right? Any tool that we want to use, you have to have some level of proficiency behind it. I can buy a fast car, I'll get into a crash if I don't know how to drive. I can buy a terrible car, I'll still get into a crash if I don't know how to drive. Like, you have to have that baseline of ability. So, and then more importantly too, it's like if you have something like this, is a lot longer, obviously. This one's like a little bit more pocket knife size. Like, really, this is what potentially your attacker is going to have.
Because this will be closer to like a kitchen knife.
Yeah.
Right? The same size as a kitchen knife.
Yeah.
This is closer to a size of a knife that I typically carry.
Yeah.
And that's a smaller version of that.
Exactly. But you picture, like, in the context of an attacker, right? If the attacker is leaving his house with the thought of, I'm going to do knife crime.
Like this.
Well, and also he doesn't care about concealability per se, right? He'll have that tucked in. Meanwhile, for you, you're not out here to do knife crime. You got a wallet, you got your phone, you got your keys, you're sitting in the car, you're sitting in the office. You're not going to have a knife that size. So suddenly to say, oh, this guy's going to pull out a knife, but it's okay, I bought a really expensive pocket knife. This is not a fair fight. we're gonna run into some problems. So again,
that's true. That's very true. Yeah.
If I bought this as like, oh, this is the tool that's gonna magically get me out of any self-defense scenario, that's definitely not the case.
I agree.
And more importantly, it doesn't even have to be that. A tire iron is that long. A ball pen hammer is that long.
And we all seen footages across like anywhere in the country. You've seen, like, doesn't matter, happens in the U.S., in Canada, in UK especially. Knife crime is a big issue, and most of the time you do see people with a knife like in this size like this. Yeah. So I think, in my personal opinion, is that if you want to carry anything, it doesn't matter if it's firearms, knives, you gotta have a basic hand-to-hand combat training. To me, that's important.
Absolutely.
Right. It's almost like you draw the blade. I don't have any hand-to-hand combat. You grab my knife. Oh crap! What did I do? You're gonna get punched, right? He's just taken away, and that can happen, right? And of course, it's also unlikely that you're gonna be able to fight someone who's like very skillful in
and also just getting into the stress of it, right?
Yeah.
This isn't in my hand. It's tucked here.
Yeah, that actually happened. That actually happened to one of the footage I saw recently. It's like they were just doing drill, but like I guess the guy was so nervous. When he draws a blade, it went onto the ground, and then all of a sudden he said, "I'm gonna reach for that weapon." Guess what happens? He gets stabbed. And that happens all the time. Yeah. So the question would be, okay, so we're going back to the question, how is it ideal for anybody to carry a knife? And this is very interesting, because I was on a forum that where a lot of people, that immigrants, they talk about, hey, I'm moving to Georgia from different states. Should I be worried about the safety issue? Should I carry a knife? What should I do? You can see a lot of people comment, hey man, just make sure you can carry the gun, you can buy a knife to protect yourself, you can do a pepper spray, and I was like, none of this will work unless you have a proper training.
I mean, I'd say that for anything. Again, I think I don't know if it's a necessarily uniquely an American problem, but it tends to be this thought like, oh, I'm gonna buy the tool and that tool is going to solve my problem.
Exactly.
And to be fair, there's a multi-billion-dollar marketing industry saying, hey, exactly that. Buy this tool. It'll fix all your problems. But really, when you start getting into the nitty-gritty of it, if you're not trained, you're always going to run into issues. Now, that being said, there's a reason why these are still around. And there's a reason why they're basically a human universal. Like, they are very effective weapons. But again, very effective weapons in the hands of who? If you're not a trained individual, you're going to run into issues.
Yeah, I do agree, because this is not a joke. It's not like, oh, you get punched, you can still do some stuff, right? You get cuts. Very likely, you're going to be holding your arm that I'm bleeding, all right? Especially depends on what you cut. Some cuts or stab to the body can be more impactful to your mobility or your thoughts or process.
And even for trained individuals, it's possible to develop training scars, right? So if I'm working with my partner and I like this guy, he's really cool, and I start getting into this, and really all I'm doing is touching him. This is not going to deal damage. And then if I think, I bought this tool, it's okay, it's super sharp, guys. That's not to say that won't cause tissue damage, but it's not going to be enough to stop a determined attacker, right? Versus if I'm here, even just like with a little bit of understanding and training, that's a cut. That's a very different situation than.
That's a very good point. It's intention of your training, and I guess sometimes when we get so carried away from the training itself, it's like, like you feed me one angle, right? I'm just gonna do this. You feel me? I'm gonna do this. The intention is not there.
Right.
What is the intention behind the drill that I'm trying to achieve? Is it just that right there?
Yeah.
Or is it, I need to evade, holy crap, I need to cut him. That intention to me, it's like the keystone. You gotta have the intention, you gotta know what you're doing, versus I'm just gonna, all right, Nick's not cutting me, I'm gonna do this. And this, for granted, I see this all the time.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, where's your intention? You have to treat this as if it was a real weapon.
Yeah, and really,
I think that's the downside.
To that point, both sides as well.
Yeah.
It can't just be you who's super determined, because you could have all the intention in the world, and then I'm going to feed you these attacks so you can drill and you can get good.
I see this too.
Right?
Yeah.
Versus that, now all of a sudden,
holy crap,
you
I
need to
to
move,
cut.
or else you're going to run into some problems.
Yes, I think that the intention of training is absolutely so important. Like, just taking that drill, for instance, I think it's a great drill to teach. It's like, previously we talked about defanging a snake. Similar idea is like, if I have a blade, he has a blade, definitely you can use that to cut them. But at the same time, you gotta be careful, because if I don't put my intention to a drill, and I'm just doing this, guess what happens in real life? My body's not gonna pick out the attributes.
And especially with the size difference.
Yeah.
You know,
for me, it's about creating space.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna stay here and fight. Oh, I cut right there. Great. First shot, second shot. I have a friend, one of my private lesson students. You know, if you get cut, sometimes if you don't realize you get cut, you might the guy still might follow the second shot, because in that moment you get cut, in that split second, you may not realize you get cut.
Yeah.
What happens in my brain? It hasn't registered in my brain. I haven't seen the blood.
And I haven't moved yet.
Yeah.
So I'm still.
You're gonna slash. Even if you slash my arm, I'm still gonna follow to a second shot. So our instructors always tell us that your angling is so important. Even if you successfully defend the first shot, your body needs to be in the position where my second shot has to take time to reach you. And then by that time, you notice that Nick, he is not just standing there and waiting for me. He's ready as if the second shot was coming. It's almost like you jab my face, I also need to watch out for the cross. I don't just go, perfect, he jab, I'm assuming you go back and don't punch across. Right? So I think it's fair to the point where if you want to carry a knife, you should learn how to train it. And that goes across to almost anything. So ideally, going back to the topic, is knife a ideal self-defense weapon?
I think it could become an ideal self-defense weapon if you actually put in the time, the dedication, all that good stuff.
And what would you say would be a good way to train, in your personal opinion? Because this is, non-biased. It's kind of, what would you recommend people to train knife work?
I would just go to the people that still use it, Filipino martial arts family, of course. I mean, personal bias, to be fair. But but I mean, those are the guys who do it. Now, that being said, a criticism, and I think it's a fair criticism, how many years does it take of doing flow drills to where that becomes second nature.
Yeah.
It's not an overnight thing. Now, if you're an individual where it's like, hey, I don't have, the luxury of spending 4 hours a week for the next, year to really drill this into me, then an argument can be made like, hey, maybe there's a better tool out there. Maybe it's going to be a pepper spray, a less lethal, something that's a little bit simpler to use, sure.
Yeah.
But as far as speed goes, as far as being able to escalate and understand weapon threats, Kali is just fantastic for that, because it's not just the kind of generic eye attack.
Here's my, and I do have a problem with some of the, I guess it's more like a teaching method that I sometimes I have to make sure it balances out, because I think that some people teach Kali. I'm not saying we don't, like sparring aspects, right? Drilling aspects, the situational awareness aspects. There's different aspects in the system that may not be touched in throughout the whole entire program. It's like we can do drills forever. We develop all these attributes, right? It's almost like you do Muay Thai without sparring, you do Jiu-Jitsu without rolling. And then you almost lose that attributes that you need over time.
And I do think it's important not only for the attributes, but also translating things from the classroom to the real world, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You can do a lot of math. I can't put you in a NASA laboratory and you can safely land astronauts on the moon. It's one thing to be like, hey, you've got good self-defense here. It's another thing to say, you're in a relaxed posture. Maybe you don't even have the knife out yet. And I'm like, hey man, I'm trying to get to this gas station.
I know he's coming. I know he's coming already.
And all of a sudden,
I saw him coming.
but just that, you as an individual, as a trained person, you are uncomfortable when I'm here.
Yeah. I don't like it.
Even with no weapon, you don't like it if I stand here. You're always like, hey, let's back up a little bit.
You know, it's funny. That's when I go out anywhere, anytime people get close to me, I'm like spacing out.
Yeah.
At the train station, when I was traveling overseas, like people are getting really close to me, I'm like this. I'm just backing out. It's like, dude, why are you so close to me?
Yeah.
I need space, man. But I think it's a good thing to talk about situational awareness.
Yeah.
That if I can prevent stuff from happening, I may not have to engage for a fight.
Yeah. And actually, now that you say that, that's probably the best. That's the best self-defense item you can have. It's not an item. It's situational awareness.
We're done. That's it.
We're over.
Yeah. Why don't you guys? Yeah.
That looks terrible. Bye. Like if you're realizing something's a bad situation over there and not walking into it and then realizing it's a bad situation while it's right here, you're gonna.
It's good to have a tool. Don't get us wrong. I think it's good to have a tool if you know how to use it and you train with it. But step one is to have a good situational
awareness.
There you go, situational awareness, right? If you can prevent things from happening, you may not have to engage in a fight. If you can prevent it from happening, even better. But if you do have to engage in a fight, you may have to make sure you survive and safely escape. The bottom line is, I'm not gonna stay here to fight Nick until someone dies. That's like the worst case. Because between me and Nick, the size difference, I'm gonna try to escape as fast as I can. I'm not gonna stay here, all right, Nick, we're gonna fight to death today.
Yeah, and that's the cool thing too, going back to your defang the snake, right? It's not you attack me, I cut this, and then now I'm immediately going here. If I can just cut this, you drop it,
ow,
later.
Yeah, runs away.
I'm happy with that.
All right, I think that concludes a lot of stuff. And of course, don't carry a knife unless you know how to use it. Because the worst part is, can I borrow a knife for this? Like, watch, he takes it away. Or maybe I drop it. Oh crap! At that point, what do? Right?
Yeah.
He has a knife, and I'm, oh crap! I don't know how to do this because he took my knife away, and that could be a problem too. All right, so that helps a lot, and I hope that this can help you guys to understand that if knife or any weapons that you carry is ideal for you, I think you just need to kind of think about like, do you train with it? Do you understand that that's a weapon? Are you willing to cut anybody if you're in a situation of crap? I need to defend myself. Do I have a gut to pull out a knife and be able to cut them if I have to? And I think that's one is a liability purpose. It's like think about once you cut them, once you do something with it,
law enforcement's going to have things to say to you about it.
Yes, there's a liability issues, right? So I'll definitely say prevention if I have to. If I have to defend myself at all costs, I will too.
Yeah.
But you just got to have the correct mindset when you go into training.
And also know, ignoring any of that good sense that we just laid out, also check your local laws. If there's a restriction, the last thing you need is like your randomly get pulled over for something for whatever reason, they go through your pockets, and now you're serving 5 to 10 years, paying a huge fine, lawyer fee, all that. You didn't defend yourself against anything, and now you're in a huge heap of legal trouble. So
stay out of trouble, guys. That's my conclusion. Just stay out of trouble, be peaceful, and if you're watching this, stay peaceful.
Please.
Don't go out and look for trouble. If you plan to go in trouble, don't do it.
Yeah.
That's my advice.
I think nothing discourages you from wanting to get into knife violence like training Kali, because you realize how quickly things can go south, how quickly one little execution error in a technique has a very real ramification where it's just like, oh, wow, I thought I was good. And next thing you know, oh, that's cut. That's too late for me.
All right, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video today. If you have any questions, please leave a comment section below. Otherwise, I'll see you guys next week. Peace.